right, we're back. This is John,
Hey, it's Paul.
and this is What If Geeks. Today we are rambling again because we didn't plan this one out very well, did we? I don't know. Saturday threw us off. That's what it was.
That's right.
So
We recorded on a non-Tuesday.
Yeah, we normally record every Tuesday, and we'll be able to record like a couple of shows, and then just sit there and bullshit and not forget to record us. It's great. But just, I guess, between recording last Tuesday and then Saturday, we kind of messed ourselves up for content. But something that I've wanted to do is sit down and kind of like discuss Star Wars since Episode 9 is coming out at the end of the year. I kind of wanted to like sit with Paul and like just do like the What If Geeks version of like a recap of everything that's gone on in the Star Wars universe and kind of like what we expected with the different movies and what really came about and that kind of thing. And then like what we're looking forward to. And then we thought it would be fun because it's not apparent that we're dumb. We figured we'd throw in a couple of quizzes that are either just sci-fi or specifically Star Wars related as we're going. So we'll see what happens. So, let's see. You want to start? Do you want to start old trilogy, original trilogy, or do you just want to start from like episode 1 and go through?
Let's do them as they came out.
All right, cool, good. Yeah.
Right, we'll do the Star Wars from our youth, and then we'll hit the first in the series in the first 3, which, and then
Yeah, good, because any other real fan like us is going to be like, if you don't do the original trilogy first.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, so first Star Wars comes out, I was 2, and it kind of like defined most of my life.
Yeah.
And I know we have discussed Star Wars in general, but like I wanted to get like specifically just kind of an overall view of the entire universe. The first one, it's a perfect movie, and from the point of like, you didn't like. I guess if you go back and look at some of the history, some of the articles on it, whatever, like there was no backing on it. It was like,
right.
George Lucas had no idea what was going to happen with that thing, and he just knew he wanted to make it. So he makes this movie Star Wars. It becomes a friggin' cultural phenomenon,
right?
And just starts this whole big universe. And at the time, again, it was just one movie, and nobody knew what was going to happen after that. But just from the little things, the references to stuff in the past that you don't know about, but
Right.
you just literally, it's like a glimpse into this world. It was a perfectly built world. That was really cool.
And I don't know that I was 7, so I will say I know I didn't know this at the time. That it says Episode 4, A New Hope, and that didn't mean anything to me.
It didn't at first.
Right. And then
No, I mean, it didn't say that at first. That came later.
Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. When they first came out, it didn't say that. It just said Star Wars, A New Hope, or Star Wars.
No, it was but it said Episode 4. It didn't call it A New Hope. It was just called Star Wars.
Okay, yeah, it was just.
But
Episode 4.
in the scroll of the things, it says that it was Episode 4.
Okay, yeah, we'll have to go back and look at it because I swear someone said that.
I think, and
the
maybe I'm
very
just remembering.
original, I think it did say like Episode 4
Yeah.
in the scroll, but maybe it was it wasn't referred to as A New Hope.
Correct.
Maybe that's what I'm remembering.
And someone will check us on that. But yes,
quick.
it was in a already developed world. I think what's really thinking back about it, it's such sort of classic myth storytelling. It could have been set anywhere. It could have been in the Old West. It could have been right. They could have been somewhere else. Like, it didn't have to be in space. It all still would have made sense. Right? You've got the boy who is looking for adventure, looking to see more of than the little world he's in. He meets the old man who's going to sort of take him through that journey he's about to go on as a mentor.
Yep.
He then finds the charming rogue. They go save a princess. Like, all of that classic myth stuff is in there.
And what I loved about that part of it too was that was a princess that outside of getting her ass off of that Death Star, she didn't need you.
No, she didn't.
She spends half of that thing saving them.
Yep.
So it was cool.
Yeah, she's in a little bit of distress, but she's not like she's not the 1950s Disney Cinderella. She's not she's not Sleeping Beauty, who's literally cannot do anything for herself until the prince comes along.
Yeah, it was really cool. So they, you get just the very beginnings of a lore. You don't really know what's going on, but you have so many of those really cool moments, like the ad lib stuff from Harrison Ford, like when he's in the control room, he's like, and they're like, "What was that?" He's like, "Nothing. We're fine now. We're fine. We're all good. How are you?"
Right.
Like,
how are you?
These little ad libs.
Is everything okay? Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
How are you?
Like throughout the series, he ad lib shit. That's just perfect.
Yeah.
And, so I like that one. Really, it started me on a whole thing. Then we jump into the holiday special that doesn't exist. Please go on YouTube and go look up the holiday special. It's amazing. You will never ever forget it, and you're welcome for your years of therapy later. All right, so you jump into Empire Strikes Back. It was cool that at the end of Star Wars, you got that little glimpse of right after the Death Star blows up, you see Vader kind of spinning around in space. So you know that they don't straight up kill off the bad guy right away. So it's kind of cool. Or not, they don't kill off all the bad guys right away. Right. You know there's an Emperor floating around out there because he's usually mentioned. I got theme songs now too.
It's me looking up the scroll from the original Star Wars.
There you go. So,
keep going.
I was waiting for the fanfare, but never mind. There it is. Thank you. Okay, copyright. Right. So,
it's a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships striking from a hidden base.
Okay, is that the original?
No,
when they first
moved it. Yeah, no, it does not.
Hey! Oh shit! I might be right. Okay. So there you go. Yeah, there's nothing above the scroll that says episode 4.
I thought it's you know what? I'm remembering the sort of redone.
Yeah.
But no, I was 7, so I wouldn't have noticed the first time.
Yeah, especially nobody thought to look for it.
Correct.
Then you get episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, whatever, and the really this the cool shit that's this. I can't listen to this music without stopping. So he's fucking me up.
I'll turn it down.
Thanks. Now I want to watch Star Wars. I just want to talk about it. Damn it. He's just waiting to see if they randomly throw in episode 4 in there somewhere. Apparently, they're not going to do it, Paul.
No, they're not. Not at this point.
All right, so episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. You got again. And what I also liked was there was that passage of time.
Yeah.
You had okay, so it's however long later. You don't even know. I forget. Somewhere in the expanded universe, I think they kind of briefly touch on how much time passes between the movies, but you really don't know. It's just quite a time, and they're on some frozen wasteland, Hoth, and I just, the setting was great, and the Chewbacca running around with the snow in his face and shit, it was really cool, and the initial Wampa that you barely see compared to the remake where. They just put more of them in there.
There's the new one. Episode 4. New Hope. Yep. All right.
Yeah,
my fault.
1 point for me.
My fault, nerds. Sorry. I got it wrong.
Thank you. Make me doubt myself. I've got a wife for that. So, yeah, I love the whole, the shit with the Wampa knocking the hell out of Luke and him escaping and, all that. Yeah. And it's, then Han finally finding his ass and shoving him inside that thing.
Yeah,
and that's how you find out what the temperature of the internal temperature of a tauntaun is.
Right,
lukewarm.
Yeah, and you think those things smell bad on the outside.
Which is, that describes most of this podcast.
I think what's cool too is you think about the end of Star Wars. In Star Wars, at the beginning, Luke's talking about he wants to go off to the academy at some point. He's going to do his application, and then Uncle Owen's like, well, maybe it'll be after next season, right? And he's like, and he goes from there to hero of the Empire relatively quickly, right?
Oh yeah.
No training, figures out how to fly an X-wing, does all that pretty quickly. Yeah,
well, they said he can pilot stuff around the canyon and stuff, but he said he used to shoot womp rats. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He used to shoot womp rats with my T-16.
They're not quicker than 2 meters.
Yeah. See? Bam. You're welcome. That'll help Paul make up for
that's right.
episode 4.
that glaring. I have to make up for that glaring error.
But yeah, so you roll through these, and you got like these classic moments. Them dressed up as the stormtroopers, and Archie a little short for a stormtrooper, and that joke would be used later when I took Noah to Disney Springs and went to the Void, and we did the VR stuff, and we were running around as stormtroopers, and I looked over, and he's a 4-foot stormtrooper. I was like, aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
Scruffy looking nerf herder.
Yeah. Oh my God, Leia! Somebody get this walking carpet out of my way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all right, so you got Empire and Return of the Jedi. That's where you start to get into for me anyway. I think that's where you start to see Lucas trying to market it a little more toward kids. Because I remember having like all the figures in Return of the Jedi. First of all, I mean, of course, we're remiss not to discuss, a 30-year spoiler now, but the mostly misheard phrase "Luke, I am your father" is actually "No, I am your father." But the whole revelation that Darth Vader is actually his father,
which is a giant sort of plot twist surprise, right?
Which now is like everybody expects some type of twist like that, but then everyone was like, "Holy shit!" Because most of the fans reacted like Luke did on Bespin, that whole "no way." So there's a lot of that, and none of them really knew what the line was either. Only Luke did, or Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill knew. Nobody else knew what that line was.
Right.
No matter what other interview you read about, he says something like, Lucas told everyone else at the line, including David Prowse, Vader, and he said repeatedly that he knew what the line was, but I've read that he didn't.
Right.
I guess they told him that it was no, Obi-Wan killed your father, and that's what the reaction was. So that later, when everybody actually saw it, everyone was like, "Holy shit!" So and then it became this big thing about him and Luke, which was funny too, because when you think about it later, there's a few little bit of like plot holes here and there. Like once he knows who Luke is, and that's filled in like comics and other shit, right? Which are really cool. Which they say like, the kid who blew up the Death Star. We figured out who it was. His last name was Skywalker, and he's standing there like furious. Now he realizes that his kid is alive, But almost immediately, like he can sense him, right? Like you see him in the movies, like he's projecting himself to the Force to try to talk to him, right? I always wondered, how the hell did he not sense a damn thing with Leia standing right in front of him? Right. Like nothing, because all this other time you can sense whatever. Maybe there's got to be something in expanded canon that I've missed that just says like there's an underlying like telepathic block that is just inherent with Force users or some shit like that I don't know about, which is pretty good if you can get that one by me, because I've read a lot of shit.
Right.
But I just always wondered, how the hell did he not know who the hell she was, or at least have a vague impression of like Padme or something from
Well, you get the sense that Lucas hadn't thought that through yet. Yeah. Like it was just who's the princess going to go for, the charming rogue or the young boy, right?
Yeah, and that's what that was. And then it became Vader's the father, and I wonder at what point between writing Empire and writing Jedi, or now it's Return of the Jedi because they got Last Jedi, did he figure out in his headcanon that Leia was his sister? They were twins,
Well, and I wonder why they went that way. Like,
yes,
because you can decide, okay, nope, she's going to get with Luke and not with Han.
Yeah, well,
you can
I would
write
hope
that. You can write it that way.
Yeah, I would hope that he figured in his head that she was his sister after he wrote the scene where like she full on shoved her tongue down his throat in Empire when he's recovering. Just saying, But hey, whatever floats your boat, dude. I mean, I do watch Game of Thrones, and there's lots of incest and that shit, so whatever. You got nothing on that, kid, so you're all right. One kiss ain't nothing. But yeah, so I was, there's little things here and there in the writing that makes me like, I wonder, But when you get into Jedi, you have anything else on Empire?
No.
Right? When you get into Jedi, you get really like that's when I knew, even as a kid, like look at all these aliens and toys and this and that you can get, and then you had the Ewoks, which was a blatant like, look at how cute these things are. Yeah. So that was like just a drive to get kids into theaters and whatever, So, but it was also subtle enough where you know what I mean. Like their part of the story wasn't overall like it didn't overtake everything and whatever. It was just kind of like it was a good part of the story, but it didn't like overtake the entire story of your heroes and whatever. Where when you get into the prequels,
right,
we discuss that. But the Jedi thing with a lot of like there was a lot of good writing in there, just the little things here and there, when he goes back to see Yoda and Yoda tells him 900 years you hit look as good you won't like, that kind of shit, and talking about Leia being the sister and this and that whatever, and him asking Ben why didn't you tell me, and he's like from a certain point of view the fact that Ghost Ben had to sit down.
Ghost Ben was tired.
Ghost Ben was like, look kid, I've had enough of this shit, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just God, even my what was it, discorporeal form, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Even that's tired. You wear beyond my bones, little bastard.
But I like, because that's the era of sort of the training montage, right? There's a lot of all the 80s movies have training montages. So they got to get in the training montage.
Yep. Rocky, Rambo, all that shit. Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there you got to
So Luke's got a training montage where he's trying to lift the X-wing fighter out of the, he's trying to stand on his head, do the thing with the rocks, and then he ends up getting the X-wing out of there.
Yeah. And then when you jump to Jedi, again, a big... Well, all right, sorry, let's roll through Empire. They shove Han Solo in Carbonite, and Boba Fett goes on to be the most popular character in the history of ever, and he says, like, two things.
Yeah. And he turns, like, he's almost sort of a blundering fool a little bit.
Later.
Yeah, like, you don't see him as this super... Like, he's described as super badass, but then he shows up and the rocket backpack sort of misfires and he ends up
Han hits him.
Not much happens.
Han accidentally hits him with the staff.
Yeah, but it's like,
and he's blind at the time he does it.
Yeah, like he just
backs up into him, hits him, and
right, and that thing goes
rocket.
Right. Like it's not super badass because it gets bumped and it.
Yeah, he accidentally happens to hit. There's a lot of luck going on there.
Right.
But and Fett becomes a lot cooler in the expanded universe shit.
Yeah.
You see that kind of stuff later on, which is a lot of stuff like you haven't read.
But like his reputation precedes him in those things.
Which is really weird. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you just kind of see him on the peripheral here and there in Empire, and then they edit him into New Hope later in the scene with Jabba.
Yep.
He's in the background there, or he's right there. So you got to see him floating around here and there, but he doesn't do anything.
No, he doesn't.
He literally takes an already frozen Han Solo and shoves him on the ship.
Yeah.
And goes away, and then he's standing around hanging out with Jabba's hookers in Return of the Jedi.
And then
right into the Sarlacc. Yeah. There you go. Right to the giant space vagina. Poor Boba. Oh God, I hope. All right, fingers crossed. We'll jump forward in time to now with the Disney Plus thing with the show The Mandalorian.
Mandalorians, yeah.
If it's literally not like Boba Fett coming back to life, I hope it's about another Mandalorian hearing the rumors of Boba Fett and what happened to him, and he's looking for him, right? Or looking to find out what happened to him. And because it looks like the couple of shots you get from the show looks like it's kind of a desert planet, so he could be on Tatooine trying to figure out what the hell happened to his comrade in arms or whatever. And I hope they find out that he did get out of the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah,
because that would be cool. That there's a story in the old expanded universe now that was technically canon that he got out, right. And it was pretty cool. It was kind of like that's where he got that badass reputation. Not from that story, but you can see why he had that badass reputation when you read that story, because it was his determination to get out of this thing, no matter what, even though he had almost nothing left, and he winds up getting himself out of there. But yeah, okay, yeah. So Jedi, and then the Ewoks, and all this other shit. And I had a point there that I missed, but whatever. It's all good. You jump from they Empire, because the carbonite. That was my point. They dropped Harrison Ford in a carbonite because they weren't 100% sure he was going to come back.
Right.
They're like, can we pay him enough? So because he wanted Solo to die like early, and he didn't. So then you get Jedi, where they go and they save his ass. And all kinds of really cool shit that happens in these movies. And I know we're kind of skimming through it just because to sit here for like 3 hours talking about Star Wars, I mean, we can do it. But, well, one, we haven't been drinking enough because it's work night. And two, we're just kind of like we've spoken about this stuff, and it's going to come up again. Yeah. So we're just going to like burn it through it. So as we go through here, anytime you hear us mention a movie and you think about, oh, I remember this scene, kind of like throw a comment in or something. Tell us what your favorite scenes were, and we'll talk about them online. So the original trilogy really sets up like this whole thing for me, because it was a world that was amazing, and then that's what got me into the Timothy Zahn trilogy of books, and then the whole expanded universe after that. It was just all these books that were like all these different writers coming together, and I think Lucas or a couple of people he had working for him wouldn't exactly tell them what to write, but they would like kind of massage it to like, okay, this is what you can say, this is what you can't say, whatever. What's your story about? And then they kind of help them so that the whole thing had an overall narrative flow, right? Which will come back later. Just a narrative flow that you have to have when you're telling a story, and it all fit together. And you had all these different writers coming together that could do that. It was amazing. Then there was the buyout, and which is cool because it meant. Oh, well, sorry. Then you had the prequel trilogy. That I guess I don't know. The less said about the better, but at the same time, there were a good amount of stuff in there that I liked. Bits of it that I liked. Mm-hmm. You could have definitely. That was the first time that I heard Star Wars movies go through, and I was like, they didn't do what I thought they would do. Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, I could have used more Darth Maul.
Yes.
I could have used a lot more Darth Maul. I could have used a lot less Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. Misa marketing scheme.
Yeah.
Going back to the Ewoks.
Yeah.
There you go.
Didn't need that.
That's when George said, fuck it. I'm going to go after the kids.
I did like the days of the Old Republic. Like it had been mentioned enough times in between the first three movies that you had to go sort of set that up, right? So it feels like the first one of the second trilogy was, all right, we have some sort of foundation laying to do, and so you kind of get again. And it had been 15 years between movies, something like that.
Yeah, it had been a while.
Yeah. So I was just happy to have it back.
Yeah.
And then there's some parts you don't love, but ultimately just happy to have that franchise that marked so much of my childhood and early adolescence, to then see it as a grown up. But again, you've got to set that world back up, and you've got you see sort of younger Kenobi as training under his teacher, like that stuff's cool.
Yeah, I could have used more of that.
I could have used more of that. I could have used more Dark.
Ewan McGregor as a young Obi-Wan was amazing. Yeah, I thought he was great. All right, a little kid, Anakin, I get it, and he was okay, but multiple problems that I have with this thing. You could have given me a little kid Anakin, and well, one, he didn't have to be the second coming of Jesus. I mean, he was just a miracle baby. Stop, come on, it's just. that was, again, that was the point where Lucas was like full of himself with this, whatever. And another problem that I've heard, and I don't always delve into these things myself, but a lot of the problems with the prequel trilogy was that a lot of it was actually Lucas's writing. It wasn't just his directing, but it was his writing too, or it was his directing as well as his writing. He shouldn't have been directing, because in the other ones he didn't direct them, like Empire and Return of the Jedi. He let other people come in and direct them, and they took his vision and they made it. Where he was trying to do it, and you get into like some of these actors that just came across as wooden, like later you get Hayden Christensen, comes across as literally like a piece of wood. In other things you see him in, he's better because he's got a better director. Lucas is not a director for actors, I guess. Yeah, he's a good writer. He can write a story. He can make an entire universe, but he couldn't direct shit, I guess. But
too much pod racing scene.
Yeah. The quick pod racing thing was okay. I get, like, you established that the kid can fly or he can pilot something, right? I guess the fact that my biggest problem with this entire trilogy is Lucas's need. I get it. Okay, nostalgia is cool, but his need to, one, pander to the lowest common denominator, and I'm not calling all you kids that, but most of them are. But with the whole like the Jar Jar Binks and whatever, like the silly little jokes, like, you didn't need to do all that. But the need to really try to push the nostalgia button, he like, like YouTube nowadays, like these idiots are out there going, smash that like button. This fucker was smashing the nostalgia button on this trilogy. He crammed every character from the original trilogy that he possibly could into this thing. Okay, one, Anakin gets into a fist fight with Greedo as a kid. Really? It just happens to be Greedo?
Right.
I get it, they're on Tatooine. Okay, fine. Greedo didn't have to be from Tatooine. He was working with Jabba in the first movie, right? You know? There's no reason for that. Okay, but whatever, you threw him in there. One or two of these little nods is funny. When you do it with every friggin' character, he made C-3PO? Right. Really? Okay, I get it. And I sat there trying over the years, not trying really, over the years, little by little, like my mind, just because I got that geek mind that has to try to work shit into a storyline. Little by little, I would find spots for most of the stuff, like, alright, the kid's at a junkyard, someone drops off a protocol droid that they don't want anymore, and it's broken and whatever, and he starts fixing it, whatever. So he didn't technically create C-3PO because the thing is literally part of a line of droids. Like, you see 2 or 3 more of him in the original trilogy walking around,
And why does a kid need a protocol droid?
Yeah, exactly.
It speaks all the languages and everything beats and whistles. Yeah,
so I mean, he's just, I get it. Like, if he's just building an A droid, cool. It had to be C-3PO, but yeah, kind of stupid. And then of course there's always the, at the end of the trilogy they mind wipe C-3PO. They didn't mind wipe R2.
Right.
What the hell happened? The little things like that, or like Chewbacca doesn't recognize any of these motherfuckers later on, or know of this story. He's smoked too much pot on Geek or something. I don't know. There's actually a funny little internet video or a YouTube video of that shit. Like, you see him at the end of, like, he's literally standing there when Ben hands off baby Luke to Baru, or he's taking baby Luke and leaving, and Bail Organa has Leia, and they're getting ready to fly away, and then Yoda looks up at him and says, friend Chewbacca, or whatever, I must go into hiding, blah, 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 whatever. And they all leave. He's standing there. And then it cuts to Empire Strikes Back, where Leia walks over and kisses Luke, and Chewie makes like one of his little, but it translates like, no, wait, whoa, what the hell are you doing? Dude, don't do that.
Yeah.
That's your brother. Awesome.
Yeah,
I got to find it for you so you can see it. It's hilarious. This is great, because the internet is full of gold like that. So, yeah. So it's like little things like that was just like, you didn't think that through, Yeah. Like the line in A New Hope. R2 was fucking going all over the place trying to get that message to Ben Kenobi, right? What's the first thing Ben says about him? Can't ever remember owning a droid.
Right.
Okay, is that a certain point of view again? Because he didn't own him.
Right.
But he sure as hell knew him.
Right. Right.
You know, so come on. I'm sorry. There's not that much sun and dust in the world. Anyway. There's little things like that with that trilogy that just kind of drive me crazy. But there was some cool things in it. You know, some of like the lightsaber shit like that they did. Yeah, the choreography they did with the lightsabers was really cool. Yeah. Lots they could have done better. So, you know, what about you? How about you? With anything else with the other trilogy?
No, I mean, you just sort of had to get to a place where it leads into episode 4, right? So you gotta, you have to get there in a certain period of time. I thought Attack of the Clones was pretty good.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of that stuff. Jango Fett, the beginning of him, I thought was cool.
Okay, so then that's where you figure out that's where the Mandalorians come from.
Right.
That's what, you know, now, because that was another thing that I didn't think growing up. You know, I just thought Boba Fett was from a planet called, you know, Mandalore or whatever.
Yeah.
But so it was a whole other side of that.
Yeah.
In fact, give me one clone that I can raise as my kid. And it happened to be Boba. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I
So
guess.
I like that stuff. Yeah, I didn't, so again, not having read all of the expanded universe stuff, I didn't know how much was out there. So I just sort of looked at them as, they're not bad movies. They're not as good as the first 3.
Yeah. A lot of the expanded stuff for me comes more into play with what's coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it was pretty cool. It was kind of cool. I enjoyed it. It was, the clones were cool. I like the twist how they went from pretty much being on one side to the other, you know, because they don't explain until later on, much later on, that you realize that the regular Empire, the Stormtroopers and stuff, they're not clones anymore. They're just recruited,
right?
You know, because then you see it with the Imperial Academy and this and that, whatever. So that kind of dies off eventually. I think you get a lot of that in the cartoons and stuff that I really haven't watched. And apparently I have to go back and watch because everyone kept telling me I never did.
Yeah, I keep hearing how good they are. I haven't watched them.
Yeah. So, well, there you go. I guess we got
a lot of stuff to watch.
Jeez. I don't have enough time. I'm going to win the lottery.
And then, again, you go years and years with no Star Wars. And then Force Awakens.
Force Awakens. Oh, you know what? We've got the two most important. Yeah, the Ewok movies. Sorry. I'm sorry. Please, for the love of God, you know what? Throw them out on your Disney Plus app and just for a laugh.
Yeah. Just
so people can watch them. But oof. Okay. Sorry. Never mind. We will discuss those again. Those are right up there with the Christmas special. Yeah. Yeah. With Chewbacca's grandfather or whatever the hell he was watching porn. Oh my God.
Wookiee porn.
Yeah. No, it was like a dancing woman, and he's pretty much beating off to himself. I don't know. It was wild,
right?
The fucking B. Arthur's in it. Like,
I don't know that I've ever seen it.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. You know what? There's gonna be. We're gonna have a new segment of this show. Is, you know, why the fuck did John make me watch this? There's gonna be that, and like the Ewok movie, the Ewok movies, the movie The Room. We'll talk about that later. That'll be another segment. Okay, yeah, that's definitely gonna be a segment.
I'm not watching Two Girls, One Cup.
No, don't. There's a vague bottom to the depth of my depravity, and that, I will make you watch that. Yeah, because that was disturbing.
It made me throw up.
Yeah. All right. So then they do the buyout. Disney takes over. And then they say, hey, John, everything you've been reading? No, don't worry about it. Son of a bitch. So they announced Force Awakens. All right. Now, that's where the crux of this whole conversation was, because I'm dying to talk about some of this shit. Just really so I can get some of it off my chest. A lot of the stuff I read about was between the Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn. Thrawn is actually in the cartoons now, too. In the more recent cartoons, he's a character. He's an admiral within the Empire. really smart, tactical, analytical dude. It was an amazing trilogy, and then you get into like because it starts to establish the relationship between Han and Leia and Luke trying to figure out what his purpose is and everything, and then you start to go through all these books where he starts to make the new Jedi Academy, and that's where you get like your young adult readers. So you get like the Jedi Academy series, and Luke and Leia, Han and Leia, she gets pregnant, and she has twins, Jason and Jaina, and then eventually she has another kid. Long story short, you get 3 kids on that side, you get one on Luke's side. He marries a woman named Mara Jade, who used to work for the Emperor. She was Emperor's hand. She was coming to kill him. He eventually turned her to the light side, whatever. She helps him with the academy, all this shit. One of the 3 kids on the Solo side turns bad. So there's a whole thing going on there. When they announced Force Awakens, you start to see, like the characters a little bit older, whatever. You see like the shot of Luke with his hand on R2 and the flames and everything. I was like, oh, they're gonna start hitting the rise and fall of the next generation and all this shit, So they started announcing actors when they announced like Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley, whatever. I'm like, I bet that's the twins. And I was sure it was gonna be the twins. How about you? Okay, good. You go. You see the initial trailers and shit. What did you think?
So again, not knowing all that expanded universe stuff, I was just again happy to see Star Wars back in my life, and I knew they were going to do sort of homage to the old stuff, bring a lot of it back, but then sort of do almost a pass the torch to a new set of heroes. And knowing that Han is back, Chewie's back, some of those old characters are back, that they were going to, in that handoff thing, I was like, this will be not quite in the way that Phantom Menace is a rebuild of the world and sort of, okay, now we have to lay the foundation for a new part. You have to take the original Star Wars stuff and reintroduce them to this new audience.
Yeah.
And I thought they did that really well.
Yeah, they did.
For what it was, which is we're reintroducing Star Wars to you, and we're bringing Han back, we're bringing Chewie back, we're getting the band back together, they're back in the Millennium Falcon, like we're doing all this stuff, and here, kid, here's the keys to the car, essentially.
Yeah, literally.
Right.
Yeah, she's
was
in the Falcon.
Right.
Yeah.
That was well done.
Yeah. So now, all right, and we can kind of roll through this movie and talk about what I thought it set up, especially knowing some of the expanded universe, as it were. A lot of the things they did from the very first with the trailer, like we've discussed many times on here. The one that's going to hit you every time is that Chewie were home, at football, and just like, holy shit, Star Wars is back,
Yep.
And
I mean, people cheered in the theater I saw it in when they do a shot of the Millennium Falcon. Like, people cheer.
Yes, yeah, when they're running,
Yep,
and you just see it in the background. All right, so now we start to get into some of my theories too, because when you start to set up this world now, one, I'll go back to some of the stuff I heard from the naysayers about, it's just a carbon copy of New Hope. It takes beats from A New Hope, and it takes quite a few beats from A New Hope. I mean, right down to a giant killer planet.
Yeah.
But there's enough in there that's new, too. And what I said then, and I defend now, is what you said. Let me introduce Star Wars to a new generation. What JJ did was exactly what he needed to do, especially taking into consideration the prequels.
Right.
He said, all right, I got to do something somewhat safe, but kind of play around a little bit. That's what he did. He made this world, or he added to this world, but at the same time kept it just enough of those nostalgic beats, not like cramming old school characters into every freaking nook and cranny,
right,
but just enough beats. Oh, older mentor, this and that, whatever, right? Oh, excuse me, that kind of shit. Now you start to go through this thing, and you get the initial spots with like stuff that you haven't seen, like when Poe tries to shoot what's his face, Kylo, and he blocks the fucking blaster bolt. You've never seen that before, right? You really couldn't do it. You're like, holy shit, this thing. And they literally pan around it as they're like showing like the dragging Poe over. You see them dragging him past it. He just looks at it like, what the fuck, you know? And it just stays there the entire time until like he just walks away and like he lets it go and everyone's jumping like, holy shit. You know, little things like that happen, you know, that like are really cool. But there were things in there as they were JJ's telling the story. Oh, that's what that noise was. The cat got in here. Okay. My cat's wandering around the garage, and I'm like, I know I heard the door. It was her. She pulled the door open. As you're telling the story, you meet Ray, you meet Finn, whatever, or well, FN, blah 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 blah, whatever the fuck his name was. Finn runs away. When they take off, that first time you see the Falcon, right? When they go and everyone cheers, they cheered in my theater too. I did too. I was like, holy shit, there it is, right? You see, and it's funny too because there's a line in there where he goes, "What about that one?" She says, "That's a piece of garbage," and they run away. And then the other ship gets blown up, so they run back to the Falcon. When they take off with the Falcon and everything, it's like she knows where she is, right? There's a lot of subtle stuff there that what I think JJ was trying to set up was throughout the trilogy, you were going to find out more and more about who she was, and she actually was somebody.
Right.
There is history there, right? Snoke. You see Snoke, you don't know who the hell that was. I had a theory about him. I thought he was Darth Plagueis, which was the Emperor Palpatine. He was Darth Sidious, right? His master, right? Because they go back to the lines in the prequel when he says, Darth Plagueis learned how to cheat death, or whatever. So that was his draw to Anakin to try to help him save Padme. This master knew how to do it on this side. Never saying who was doing what, whatever. I thought it was going to be one of those, like, where the Emperor tried to strike down his old master. He went off into hiding, like, in the Outer Rim somewhere. Right. And then he came back now at The Force Awakens. And that was Snoke. Right? Because of the scars and shit, right?
You thought way more about this than I have.
Fuck yeah. Oh, yeah. I straight up geeked out. I had an entire scenario. All right. Let's jump through some of the really cool scenes in here. Like, what they did was they really set up how powerful Chewbacca's bowcaster is. Yeah. Right? Repeatedly, you see him shoot people, and they're flying all over the place, and Han's like, can I use that thing real quick? And he almost friggin' knocks himself on his ass trying to use it. They do all that just to set up how strong Kylo is. Because when, spoiler alert, when he kills Han, drops him down the shaft, Chewie loses his shit and shoots him right in the hip. Dude doesn't do anything but bleed for a little while. Like, limps around a little bit, but he doesn't die, he doesn't fall over, he doesn't go flying anywhere. He drops to a knee. Right. That's it. So this thing has been throwing people around all over the place, and it takes this dude down to his knee, and then he gets back up, smacks himself a couple times because he's pissed, and starts coming after people, right? So you see how powerful he is in the Force, which also, like, to me, it spoke back to some of the stuff they said, like in the comics and the books, about Vader. Why he was so powerful in the dark side was because of all his pain. Yeah, that's what you get. You get more power from your pain. So now you just added to this little son of a bitch. They do a lot there. There's the one shot when you see them in the snow, and he goes to pick up the saber, and it goes flying past him. I literally could have bet money that it was going to be Luke at the other end of that thing, and then it was her. I was like, that was the first time in the entire movie I was like, shut the hell up. So because you don't see Luke. Oh, son of a bitch. I really thought it was going to be him at the end of that. Yeah. Like, he sensed something or whatever, and when the kid goes to get the lightsaber, he calls it to himself and fights him. Yeah. I was cool with how all that ended, right? With the whole them fighting. That would have been
so. I feel like that would have been too much there.
Would have hit that too much nostalgia. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. But the fact that you didn't have Luke at all. Right. It was like, until the very last scene. But you don't have him at all, and it was like, wow. But I mean, they established it right from the very beginning. He's gone to hiding. So you get this established story that's going through this. Now you know by the end of Force Awakens, you know Rey is some junker that got dropped off on a planet. You see her vision where she's crying and screaming for the ship to come back and get her, right? A bunch of different shit in there, right? You see, like, she can use the Force. We don't know how. She just can. There's a scene in there, and apparently in the actual screenplay, there's when the saber goes past him. I guess like when they wrote the screenplay in the or in the notes or whatever, when you do like there's something out there that you can read that when they're on that snow planet and Kylo goes to get the saber and it goes flying past him, it goes into her hand, and he says something like, "It is you." Right? There's something there it's been there, but because they didn't use it in the movie, they ignored it. But it was there. It was something else was going to happen, right? So he doesn't say that in the movie. But what I took from this entire thing was like the whole story they said about Luke trying to build up the academy and it fell, and Ben went to Snoke and this and that. When we left Force Awakens, of course, like you just said, I thought about this shit a lot. I love this shit. I was like, all right, this is what I thought was going to happen. And then we can go later on where Last Jedi just pretty much shit on everything that I thought too. Which is probably why my initial reaction was F. Ryan Johnson. And then later I took that back in that other podcast. But yeah. Because most of it was like a narrative storyline. Right. You have to have a narrative thread. I looked at everything JJ was setting up. I was like, all right, I think Snoke is still going to turn out to be Plagueis. Like I said, came back from the Outer Rim, out of hiding, out of hibernation, whatever the hell he was in, that he was trying to recoup himself. He came back. Because he even looks similar to drawings of Plagueis in old comics. So it's kind of like, that shit. But I thought the storyline was going to be that he came back to kind of like rebuild his own empire, realizes, Palpatine is dead, this and that, whatever. So he starts to come after whoever could possibly stop him. That would be Luke and whoever. He starts to get his claws into Ben. The way I figured it was, if you go back to the comics, or in the books, if you don't make Rey Ben's sister, it looked obviously like they weren't at that point. I was like, well, okay, if it's not, only because Leia doesn't really recognize her. So either A, everyone thought she died, which, well, hey, your dad didn't recognize you in A New Hope, so right. Whatever, So it could have still gone that route. Everyone thought she was dead or whatever. But then I went, well, no, it kind of doesn't really make sense for me. So this little bug is going to fucking drive me crazy. He's been flying around my face every time I talk. He's like, stop talking about Star Wars. Apparently he's a Star Trek fan.
Ryan Johnson said it.
Yeah, there you go.
Sent the bug.
Fuck me? Yeah, what's this? What I thought was going to happen was you're going to find out that Ben helps. He goes to learn from his Uncle Luke, right? Because obviously, okay, well, you're Leia's son. You're probably going to be powerful. So they start from an early age. And I figured there would be like some either description or some flashback or something talking about how Luke raised him in the Force. Maybe like just like they do in the old books, where they don't necessarily. It's almost like boarding school is how they do the Jedi Academy in the books, right? So it would be similar to that, where he's not around his parents; he's more around his uncle than he is his parents, which is how they were in the books. So when they do see their parents or whatever, it's they're hugging, whatever, they're kind of hanging out for the summer, like Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. So there you go. There's another series for your channel, your streaming network. It's the Jedi Academy. So I can write this shit all day. I figured it was going to be him helping his uncle because he's with him all the time, right? Helping him find these Jedi first, and then he's essentially like his right hand. So he is the prized pupil for so long. Right. And then I thought that you would have like a Mara Jade type of character that Luke meets, who's also strong in the Force. And there was something there where everyone was joking around, or they were discussing who Rey's mom could possibly be, or whatever, because they were like, is she Luke's daughter? There was something where in one of the cartoons, Ben Kenobi, during the Clone Wars, falls in love with a woman who can use the Force as well. And it's never completely established, but it looks like maybe he leaves her a little gift.
Right.
And what I was like, if they decided to finally incorporate some, because they do incorporate some of the cartoon stuff in the movies, like you'll hear in Rogue One, you hear the call sign of the ghost or whatever it is from Clone Wars. Right. Like you hear them talking on the radio chatter as they're talking. So they incorporate stuff. Terrence Howard, Soul, whatever the hell his name is in Rogue One. He's sitting there yelling with the gas. Yeah. He's from the cartoon. That character is from the cartoon. So they've been starting to incorporate all this shit. Thank you, Terrence Howard, Forrest Whitaker. Sorry, whoop, that sounded really racist. Way to set it back 20 years. Sorry.
You didn't say they all look alike. That's not what you said.
No.
In your defense, that's not what you said.
Mix them all up.
You just confused them.
No, I mix my heavier black guys up. That's all. So yeah, Forrest Whitaker. The eye. I should have gotten the eye right. Yeah, there you go. I'm just digging a deeper hole. Fuck it. Saul Guerrero, I think his name is. Yeah. There you go. Nice to see that one popped in there.
That you knew.
Yeah, I couldn't get the actor's name right. But him. What will you be now? Yeah. He was from the comics. Or from the cartoon. So they've been incorporating this shit. So I thought it would be really cool if they took the idea that Ben Kenobi had a daughter and Luke got wind of that and went sought her out to try to help him with this academy, or just to see like, hey, your father taught me, whatever, and then they fall in love and they have a kid.
Right. Now
this is starting to become like my headcanon for like leaving Force Awakens. I'm like,
this is your fan fiction story.
Yeah, this is my fan fiction story. So now these two fall in love. They have a kid. It's right. Now, of course, Luke has a daughter. What happens to Ben? While, through no fault of his own, he loves Ben. Ben starts to feel slighted. Yeah. That's how Snoke gets his claws in him, right? So that was his whole thing. So I was like, okay, and then what I think they're going to do is that's where he's going to start to turn bad. He's going to take half of the kids from the academy that have any kind of leanings toward the dark side or dark side tendencies. He's going to corrupt them too, and he's going to take them with him, and they become the Knights of Ren, right? And that also established for me, I was like, oh, well, that goes with that flashback scene where you see them all standing there in the rain, whatever, like they look like they're getting ready to attack somebody. Yeah. I had it all covered. And then I was like, all right, wait, I got this down. Ben and the Knights of Ren destroy the academy, but at the last second, there's one spot in that, I explained it to myself later, too. I realized, like, oh, shit.
I would like to see this movie. Like, I want to see this movie. This Star Wars movie that's playing in your head.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see this.
Yeah. They destroy the academy, and they're getting ready to kill everybody. Now, mind you, like, when they destroyed the academy, Luke is buried because you see him come out in the vision. You see his hand come out. There's one spot in Rey's vision where it looks like Kylo lights his lightsaber in front of her, but not at her, right? I think in my head it was they were going after her too, and then enough of Ben Solo was still there because he's been struggling with the light side and the dark side throughout Force Awakens. To me, I was like, all right, there's enough of Ben Solo in there. He tells them, no, I'll take care of her, sends them on their way. And then he uses the Force to mind wipe her, right? That was me. I was like, all right, if he mind wipes her, because there's enough of this shit. I'm trying to think of any specific examples of it in canon, but whatever, they use their powers, right? Their Jedi mind tricks and shit. He could have probably done something to wipe her memory pretty much completely. He takes her on the Falcon because it's his father's ship. So for whatever reason, it's there. Because he's a teenager. He borrowed dad's car or whatever, right? Okay. Go with me on this one. Flies her off some random spot so that, as far as the Knights of Ren know, he's killed her.
Right.
He takes her in secret on the Falcon. drops her ass off on Jakku, gives her to Unkar Plot or whatever, take care of this kid, gives him the, trades him the Falcon for another ship. That's the ship that you see flying in Force Awakens. Right. It's actually Ben Solo in the last of the remnants of his light side saving his cousin and dropping her off somewhere, wiping her ass off.
Right.
Wiping her mind and going. That's why she's yelling for him to come back. And it also explains why the hell the damn Millennium Falcon is sitting there for there is no other reason this ship is there.
Right.
There, I explained it and it didn't happen. So, fuck you. That would have explained all of that shit.
Right.
Every little bit. Right down to the Falcon being there. He brought the Falcon there, dropped her off, and then left it there. And took off in another ship. And that also explains why in Force Awakens, when they say, they're going on Jakku again, he knows where the planet is. He knows what the planet is. He's walking around out there. And then when he gets back to his ship, they say, the droid took off with a girl. What's his reaction?
Yeah.
What girl?
Right.
Specifically, what girl? Not like, oh, girl?
Yeah.
No. Who the fuck is this droid with?
Right.
Because it just so happens, because he's seen this kind of shit happen before, right? So it's kind of, that would explain a lot of that shit. That's where, I went with that whole movie, and then...
That would have been a good movie.
Thank you. There you go. Ta-da. I think that's what most fans were thinking was going to happen. And then Rian Johnson came out with Last Jedi. And again, my first reaction was F. Rian Johnson. Mostly because I had that movie that I just described in my head when I walked in there.
Right.
What did you think when you left Force Awakens?
When I left Force Awakens, I was like, all right, we've taken care of the franchise. We've turned it over to the new generation, and I think we're in pretty good hands. We did a lot of the stuff we did in the original Star Wars, like you mentioned. We've now got young hero, heroine now. We've got the movie sort of updated for 2018, 17, whatever year it came out. We've got...
We're old.
Yeah. We've got young hero on an adventure off the world and the small little world they've ever known, right? You've got Rey now doing this stuff. Find out she's got power and a penchant for this, the way Luke figures out in the original Star Wars that he could maybe someday be good at this.
Yeah.
You've got bad guy, right? Taken in by the dark side, trained in the light, but ultimately becomes dark. You've got sort of a Vader stand-in.
Yeah.
You've got sort of charming rogue a little bit in Finn, rebel in the sense that was a stormtrooper, changed. So he plays sort of the I'm going to guide you through this, Ren, sort of show you the ropes because I've been around the block a little bit.
Yeah.
Type. And so we're back to the kind of what we've got in the original Star Wars. You don't have a sort of Force mentor the way you did in Kenobi, but you've got all the sort of archetypes in the movie ready to go. And then heading into what is Last Jedi, you're like, all right, we've sort of reset this thing. And I think we're in pretty good shape.
And then you see Luke at the very end.
Yeah.
Like, oh, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And side note to my fan fiction, it also explained why Rey was so powerful, but kind of went right back because she had some training from a little kid before she got mind wiped. She's been hanging out with her parents,
right,
who are both Jedi or both Force users, right?
Yeah.
That would explain why she was so powerful and able to fight Kylo Ren, even though it looked like she didn't know what the hell she was doing.
Right.
It was just innate and it was suppressed, like muscle memory.
Right.
It was that kind of stuff. Sorry, I forget my points sometimes. Yeah, that was in there too. So yeah, then you go to Last Jedi, and it pretty much picks up immediately right after Force Awakens. And the moment you've all been waiting for, Luke is standing across from Rey, and 98.9% of everybody and their mother thought he's looking at her like, this is my daughter and I thought she was dead or whatever.
Yeah.
And he takes his lightsaber and he throws it off a cliff. Like, son of a bitch. Now, mind you, I know it started out with the Poe call waiting joke.
Yeah.
Okay, it was kind of funny, but it was. What I remember about that was like, all right, the jokes in the movie they hit, but they also were kind of like not quite the Star Wars humor. It was like kind of, you know what I mean? It was kind of like, it was more, again, okay, it's for a new generation, so I get it. But just some of them just kind of like, it set a different atmosphere. And that was where it started to lose me, was where it kind of, it didn't flow from one to the other.
Yeah.
You had what looked like was going to be a story that was going to go through a trilogy. And then, like I said, and, you know, JJ could someday come out and be like, listen to this podcast and be like, guys, I never meant any of that shit. And
Yeah, here's what I meant to do.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
He presents his version.
Yeah. But it seemed like what even if I wasn't 100% right, it looked like there were specific points there that were going to be important later. Who Rey is, her connection to Luke coming back out of nowhere, Snoke, all these little things were going to be important. And then one by one, Rian Johnson just kind of knocked them off like, nah, this is not what... Like, basically, it was almost like he was on an agenda to anything you thought was going to happen is not going to happen in the movie. And after a while, like, goes back to, like, for me, all right, I know you have an agenda, stop beating me over the head with it. You know, you can have, and that was me, just from a story standpoint, like, you have to have a flow, and there was no flow there anymore. And it kind of, that was what was so jarring.
And I feel like this next one, episode 9, is going to be another reset. Like, I feel like we're going to have to take some stuff and say, nope, we meant what happened in Force Awakens. We want to go back to that. In some regards, we may tell some of those stories that you were talking about. But I think we're going to have to do a sort of mini table set and be like, okay, here's...
if I ultimately turn out to be right about any of that shit, you guys, somebody owes me something.
Yeah.
You owe me a bottle.
Yeah. Here's where we are. Here's what, here's what needs to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, there was a lot of cool stuff in there. Like, all right, like the Force apparition Luke, when at first you don't realize, what he is. And then there are like those subtle hints. Like,
I just thought he stopped and got a haircut.
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
And colored his hair.
Yeah, he just looked younger.
Yeah.
It didn't hit me the first time.
Like, I was like, son of a bitch, on the way to this giant battle, you stopped and got a haircut and a shave and dyed your hair.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, hyperspace. All the time.
Like, hold on, I gotta get tightened up.
I gotta look right.
I gotta get my dude tightened up.
That's right. Now they did, like, there was subtle things that you could have caught on to, aside from the fact that he looked like he did in the visions. He didn't, like, where everything else was walking on that planet. He didn't disturb. Yeah, he didn't disturb anything as he was walking. And you're like, okay, yeah. You don't catch that until later on when you're looking at it. You're like, son of a bitch. Really? Okay. So they did a good job with that kind of stuff. That shot when he walks out there, I really thought it was going to be similar to something that was, I think it was in a video game, or it was in a video game that was never made. It was described. The scene was described but never made. Kind of like it showed Luke at one of the heights of his powers, where, like, he walks out in that similar scenario. He walks out to save some people, and there's like a Star Destroyer or something, and he literally, like, rips it out of the sky with the Force, or much like the AT-ATs or whatever those were, the advanced AT-ATs now, because now they have the little spikies on their legs.
Can't do that thing.
Yeah, fool me once, fuckers.
Not doing it,
Yeah, I thought he was gonna go out and, like, just crush them down to the ground, but none of that happened. He just wasn't really there. Now, the fact that that's what took him out. I mean, I get it. The projection of himself that far, understood. Yeah, I get it. It takes a lot of power. But really, that's all of this lead up, and then that's what you never see him once actually interact with anybody. Blah blah blah, whatever. So I had now. All the scenes were really cool. Like, I love the. I could watch, like, there was a thing called X-Wing Rogue Squadron a while back. That was like a video game and a comic book series and whatever. I'd love to have them do something similar to that. That was like Wedge Antilles and the guys from New Hope era. I'd love to see them do something like that, like maybe Black Squadron or something like that, and have Poe and a few others, Poe and Snaps and whoever else, do that, like do either a TV series or something on the streaming service, or even just a cartoon. Do a cartoon, let them voice it, whatever, or get sound alikes to voice it. But I would love to, because like every time you see him get in an X-wing, it's amazing. He can fly. You see him in there, you get excited. I want to see more with this shit. There are certain scenes that were done in this movie that I was like, wow, I'd really like to see more of that. But just overall, it didn't gel for me, and that was my biggest problem with it. It's just, it didn't gel. So I'm hoping, like you said, they do another course correction. I think we made this joke before. I said the first 2 minutes of episode 9 is going to be Rey waking up on the Falcon, like, oh, yeah, and Luke walking out, and like, it's okay, yeah. You had a vision, it's right. It's all right.
It was all a dream.
It's totally new heart Star Wars. Yeah, it'd be great. You never believed the dream I had. Yeah. So who knows? I would love to see the fact that she actually has a history, explains why she's so powerful, whatever it may be. I got faith in JJ. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be a nice way to end it.
We're not ending it.
No. I'd love to see them do an episode 10 just so that you have that X. Mm-hmm. I know it's 3 sets of trilogies, but something that
it's going to be driven by box office. I mean, that's what drives all of this. And so whether it's we do some more one-offs, like not sort of character like Solo, not character driven, because there was the Obi-Wan movie was in production or discussions.
Yeah, and they were talking about Ewan McGregor coming back. That was going to be epic.
They talked about
you can do like your lone Western type of thing.
Yeah, they talked about a Boba Fett sort of origin story, or more sort of explanatory on the character, the way they did with Solo.
As he came up after his father died,
but you can do other, like, I thought Rogue One was really well done in taking the universe you knew just before Episode 4 and explaining what is the greatest sort of unsolved mystery in all of science fiction, which is, why do you leave a giant hole in the most powerful space station? Why do you leave a
thermal exhaust port?
Right. Why do you leave it open and unguarded? Yeah. That if you perfectly threw some photon missiles into would explode the whole thing. Like, why does that happen?
Yeah.
And you wondered that since we were kids. Like, why would you do that? Is it the worst design flaw ever? No, you find out it was an act of sabotage. Yeah.
It was sabotage.
And so, but you take that and that movie's really well done.
Yeah. Well, so then you'll love to hear the fact that they're actually making something about Cassian on Disney Plus.
Oh, cool.
One of the new Star Wars shows is going to be about him. So hopefully you'll see more KSO, the robot.
Yep.
The snarky Imperial droid. Yeah, him. That show's coming out. The Mandalorian's coming out. There's even rumors of an Ewok show. Which one I hold my breath on, but at the same time, you can actually really do something cool with that too. So we'll see. We'll see what the hell happens. I would love to. There were handfuls of stories coming up way back in the day. That one was going to be, there was going to be a video game about kind of like the underbelly of being in the Empire. So like you had like where you fleshed out a lot of the bounty hunters and whatever, and the really seedy shit. Mm-hmm. You can do a whole series, like not a video game. I mean, you can do a video game out of it too, but you could do a streaming series about that kind of shit.
I want the young Yoda story. I want all that. I want the Yoda, essentially, like if Solo is considered a Star Wars biopic, I want the Yoda biopic.
Okay, that works. Yeah, well, then they got to touch on the fact that they made Yaddle.
I want to know how
prequels.
I want to know how young Yoda comes to the Force and gets trained, and who's Yoda's mentor when he was a Padawan, who was his instructor, and what happened to that,
I gotta find that
900 years ago.
That picture's not gonna pop up. There was a picture of the Gremlins 2, the female Gremlin, and then there's a picture of Yoda. It says, young I was.
I want those stories.
Yeah, I would like to see those. There's still a trilogy, and I forget because I'm like we said before, I'm not really big into the directors and whatever, but I've heard of these guys when I hear their name again. They're coming in to make a kind of a Game of Thrones-esque Old Republic.
Okay.
Kind of it's supposed to be like a trilogy, kind of revolving something similar. I guess something similar to that like really hit Knights of the Old Republic video game. Mm-hmm. It's going to be in that era. So, and then there's also another trilogy supposedly floating around there that nobody really knows about because that was one that they were going to do with Ryan Johnson, but then it's going on, no, it's not. Yeah. So I have no idea if that's going on or not. But yeah, so I think episode 9 will fix a lot of the problems people had. I think there's going to be a lot of, what's going to happen right before the season? It comes out in December, right? Right before that, once they drop the trailer, because rumor is the trailer's coming out like today, the 2nd, in like 10 to 15 days. It's supposed to be coming out. Wow. Rumor. When they start dropping that trailer, I think you're going to see a lot of the same jerks that we went after with the Captain Marvel stuff. They're going to come back out of the woodwork and go after them for Star Wars because they're still so pissed off.
They're still pissed off about Jedi, yeah.
About Last Jedi, yeah. Again, hey, look, and again, I was too. But then I watched it again, and I sat there and I thought about it. I was like, all right, I don't completely hate the movie. I would have rather seen them do the movie that I made. You can even have that one for free, damn it. But I would have rather had seen it more closely resemble what I was envisioning. But okay, fine. Yeah, you took a gamble. Solo paid for it.
Yeah,
because Solo was a really good movie.
Yeah, Solo's a good movie.
So, but I got a bad feeling about this. But I think they're going to come out of the woodwork or just like they attacked Solo or didn't go to see Solo. I think they're going to do the same thing to this one with episode 9, and I hope not because I'd like to see it end on a high note.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, it's not going to be the end. It's going to be more, but yeah. So that's.
I don't think it's the last Star Wars movie in theaters. They may not do.
They'll take a break.
An episode, right, 10, 11, 12 in the storyline, but there'll be a one-off or a thing or...
Yeah.
See, it's not the last theatrical Star Wars.
No, it might be the end of the Skywalker story.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. But, yeah, we'll see. I don't know. So, now we ran a little long, so you want to save trivia for another night?
Yeah.
All right, we'll
do trivia night.
We were thinking about doing trivia.
We'll do a trivia night.
We'll actually do a trivia night. That's what, you know what?
There we go.
Screw it. Next Tuesday, we'll just do a random geek trivia night.
There we go.
So, much like you guys like to listen to your HQ Live and HQ Words Live, where you can win money, you can listen to us and you can't win shit. But you win bragging rights. So, all right, we'll do trivia night next time. So, until then, jump on. Let us know what you think about the entire Star Wars talk, what you think was going to happen in each of the movies that you were growing up watching, and the ones that just came out. And then let us know what you think is going to come with episode 9 and with the streaming service. And I know Star Wars is a big push on the streaming service. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. All right, hit us up, whatifgeeks@gmail.com, Instagram, Facebook, Smoke Signal. And we'll catch you later.
All right, see ya.